So we'll work or look at the subtle energy field. You've heard us talk about this a lot on the show, but things that aren't obvious, but Kristen especially is so good at going in and seeing what's there. We look at the physical body, the physical form and the physical body as the chakras relate to them. We look at the emotional states. We also look at the physical space, land, and buildings. If someone is chronically ill because of the experience I had with my family of living in different houses that were making us sick, we look at HVAC systems, the physical space, the contracts, so many layers to the land, buildings, and physical space that you are in. So if you've been following the show, in some of the last few episodes, we've talked about legacy in different capacities with Kat Frey, with Elena Laporia, and other women who are leaving legacies, like building legacies and creating legacies that last. So welcome back. And if you are new and tuning in, welcome. So excited that you are here to Kreatrix TV. This mission of Kreatrix TV is shifting a little and changing. And so to catch you up, we are a place, or a space that we see through the matrix, expand our consciousness beyond what we believed or were programmed and trained that was possible, and innovate and curate a more beautiful world so that we can all leave legacies worth leaving. All right. If you've also been tuning in, you'll notice that my emphasis has changed. The show has changed. We're up leveling. I'm changing my name. I've got both on the screen today, Kat Moulton and Katryn Rose Gold. So I am shifting and up leveling, spiritually, emotionally, financially, business-wise, and with that comes a name. And so next week's episode, we're going to talk about that, the energy of a name change and how that can impact you and impact your legacy. But today's episode, we're going to talk about what these terms mean: legacy healing, legacy expansion, and the combination of both legacy and healing and expansion, and how that impacts the future and for yourself. So let's just dive in. I'm also going to give you some tips on signs that you can look for, things that you can do, and, build your legacy. But we're going to talk about it a little bit from the emotional and the internal, because as you know, how we do one thing is how we do everything. And anything we truly want to shift in the outside world, we have to shift internally first. So legacy healing, this focuses on resolving the unresolved traumas, wounds, and negative patterns that may have been passed down through generations. By acknowledging and working with these inherited challenges, individuals can break free from the cycles of negativity and create a healthier, more empowering legacy for themselves and future generations. Okay. Legacy expansion differs a little. It involves actively cultivating and expanding, one's positive impact on the world. It encompasses using one's unique gifts, talents, and resources to contribute to causes and initiatives that align with one's values and vision for a better world. Legacy expansion also involves inspiring and empowering others to step into their own leadership and make a positive difference. So together, legacy healing and expansion encourages individuals, families, and communities to take responsibility for their past, present, and future, recognizing their profound influence in leaving a lasting mark on the world. It's a journey truly of personal growth, self-reflection, and intentional action. Let me say that again, intentional action aimed at creating a fulfilling and meaningful legacy. If you followed the show, I've talked to guests who talk about inspired action, and even a recent episode, obvious action. But it's really about this intention, and we talk a lot about intention. We're going to save that for another day, but self-reflection, personal growth, a journey of intentional action aimed at creating a fulfilling and meaning legacy. Okay, so who wants to do that? I know I do. And for many people who do want to do this, it really includes their business and often even a bigger scope of a family business. I personally, with my team and people you've met here on the show before, support wealthy business families under the umbrella of Project Eternity as part of a collective and innovative and dynamic group of industry experts spanning wealth, business, technology, spirituality, and so much more. There's a spiritual transformation team at Project Eternity. That's when I refer to my team, that is what I'm talking about. And this is a unique blend of talents that share individual and overlapping, right, expertise in energy work, energy medicine, somatic breath work, embodiment, gene keys, the Enneagram, archetypal exploration, quantum healing, reconnective healing, empowerment coaching, and deep soul guidance, because that is the level where things really shift and our legacy begins to expand, that soul level. So deep soul guidance. We also add on layers of the land, the physical property, contract clearing, and each of our team members' unique connection to source energy. Okay, so this is a highly specialized and unique team. We're innovative, extremely efficient, and it is that relationship and the synergy between the team members and our commitment to each other and the well-being of our clients that are a top priority that really helps things shift and expand. We do the healing work and we do the expansion work. It's not one or the other, we do both. So in a nutshell, our team supports business families to expand and secure legacies worth leaving. We all know we're all here for a legacy. So regardless of what we do, we're leaving an impact. What type of impact we want to leave, what our legacy is up to us. And sometimes on the interviews on Kreatrix TV, I've asked some of the guests, what do you want your legacy to be? And if you're listening right now, I'm going to ask that to you. What do you want your legacy to be? And how can you go about shifting it if it's not in the trajectory that you want it to go, right? So think about that here, reach out for help. But one of the things I believe, especially when I work with this team, again, we support business families to expand and secure legacies worth leaving. We support the inner workings and the energetics of personal relationships. That means the personal, the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself and with source and your family relationships. And these underlie the business's most critical foundation for lasting into the future. It's the people. So when the family members, not just you, but the family members are grounded, united, and strong, the family business cannot help but grow and flourish for generations. This is what we mean by legacy, right? Generations, particularly when they are working in consulting with the technological, the business systems, and the analytical partners at Project Eternity. So here's one of the big questions. How do you know if you need to heal your legacy? So I'm going to turn this back on me for a moment. I didn't really know. I wasn't conscious of it. You may or may not be. You might be further along the path than I was. But I started writing a book. I was processing a lot of trauma, some of it successful, some of it unsuccessful, because I didn't have the specialized support that would have helped me shorten the gap, right? But I started writing a book to process it because we all know journaling can be very cathartic. Automatic writing can help us gain insights. We can learn about ourselves. But this book, I was calling it A Legacy of Violence. It's kind of depressing, right? A legacy of violence. But that's what I felt like I grew up in, a hotbed of violence. Can anyone relate to that? Well, as I shift and I grew and I started to change my perspective on things that happened, and that doesn't mean dismissing and underplaying the trauma and the unhealthy things that existed, right? It just shifts what I believe and how it serves and affects me. But we're not making excuses for bad behavior. Okay. I changed the book to A Legacy of Love. But that didn't feel right either, because even our expansion is about expanding into love. It was the both and for me. There was violence, there was love. How did I marry the two? I had to allow and accept for what was and take the steps to make the internal changes, glean the gifts, the lessons. You'll hear me talk about a lot. What is the lesson? What is the gift? And how can we use that to move forward instead of holding us back? So for me, it was really about looking at myself and the story of my family of origin, the family that I had created, with my husband at the time, and even looking back at ancestral lines and generational, and sometimes even, and I'll touch on this so briefly later, past lives, but not for the glamour of past lives, but for seeing the patterns. And we're going to talk about that in a second. So it's really about shifting the energy, being committed to deep growth and expansion. And even though I didn't have a family business, it's how it affects the business that I am creating. So you can be part of a business family, or you can be doing this for yourself as an individual because you want to grow your own business, or you're part of a business entity that you have influence and impact on. Make sense? Okay. So one of the things in my own journey was that in my immediate family, there were repetitive signs of food allergies, of anger, explosive anger, repeated challenges with carbon monoxide alarms not working, and sometimes overworking, things like that. I could go on and on. I'm not going to bore you, but if you look back at your life, look for patterns, look for things that were repeating, even if they didn't make sense at the time and they still don't make sense in present moment. Start to notice what are the patterns, because here we're going to dive in and I'm going to give you about 7 different things you can look at. So determine if you need to do legacy healing work. And I did, and I kind of fell into it, right? It can involve this introspection, the self-reflection, and acknowledgement of certain emotional patterns, unresolved issues that may be passed down through the generations, like in my family. And here are some signs that may indicate your own need. So we touched on this already. 1, the first sign is repetitive patterns. If you notice repeating negative patterns in your life or relationships, such as unhealthy communication styles, addiction tendencies, or conflicts similar to those experienced by previous generations, it may suggest the presence of ancestral wounds. Number 2, emotional reactivity, right? Feeling intense emotions or reacting strongly to certain triggers without apparent cause. This could be a sign of unresolved generational trauma or unhealed family dynamics that do need addressing. So these might not all resonate for you, but notice if there's a few. Number 3, family history. Being aware of significant events that have happened, traumas, systemic oppressions experienced by previous generations can help identify the need for legacy healing, because it can help us look at the past, the present, and what's coming or could be in the future. So historical traumas like war, displacement, discrimination, or substantial losses might have lingering effects on individuals and families. I worked with a woman a few months ago that had to, as a very young child and having siblings, her parents had to escape their war-torn country. They did what was right for the family, but there's still trauma involved with that, and emotional trauma and loss, even though they were fleeing for a better life. And that had an impact on her behavior. And it wasn't until we worked together and connected the dots that she had the ahas, and that the healing there could just start to integrate and unfold. Okay, number 4, persistent feelings of shame and guilt. Ongoing feelings of shame and guilt, especially ones that seem disproportionate to your own experiences. It might indicate inherited emotional burdens from previous generations that necessitate healing. So sometimes we are carrying the wounds for other people. And one of the questions you might have heard me ask on the show, we go into is like, when you're going through something, but you're not sure what's going on, ask whose energy is that? Or who does this belong to, right? Is that energy your own, or have you just taken on an energetic pattern of someone before you or a situation in your life? So number 5, lack of belonging. If you struggle with lack of identity, disconnection from your heritage, or a sense of not belonging within your family or community, exploring and healing ancestral wounds may be beneficial. I could say a lot more on that. You could look at my loneliness antidote, but I'm going to leave it there. Number 6, this is a big one. And this was one that I touched on when I talked about my own personal story a little bit. Number 6, chronic health issues. This is not a one and done. These are repeated patterns with health. So it's often deep-seated generational trauma can manifest on chronic physical or mental health problems. So we're looking at both. If there's unexplained prevalence of certain illnesses, or psychological struggles within your family lineage, it might point towards the need for legacy healing. Now, again, all of this doesn't mean it's legacy healing, but look for the patterns, look for the commonalities. Okay. And especially with chronic health, if you've done other things, other modalities, allopathic medicine, even holistic medicine or homeopathic, and it's still not resolved, then we need to go back and look at things from a different angle. Number 7, intergenerational relationship challenges. Okay, so this is difficulty in forming healthy relationships, trust issues that you have with people, or reoccurring attachment patterns that hinder personal connections. It could indicate, and again, I say could indicate the presence of unresolved family or ancestral traumas. So if you resonate with one or more of these signs, it might be worth considering engaging in legacy healing work to address the intergenerational wounds and find healing for yourself and your family line. Consulting with a therapist, attending support groups, or exploring ancestral practices and rituals may all be helpful in this process. My team and I, what steps do we take? We embody all of that and more, because we don't believe looking at the lens, just one angle, can get someone through the big upheavals. In certain situations, it might be enough, but often when it's chronic and you notice many repeated patterns and you've tried things and you can't break through, we need to look at this holistically and integratively. So the team and I, we do investigative work. We do diagnostic work on that holistic and integrative paradigm or approach. And we work on multiple planes, because 2 of my team members, you've seen them on the show before, Sandra Orndorff and Kristen Lemaster. I love them dearly. I respect them. We have created this synergy between us over the last 2 years, not so much here on the show, but where we work on Clubhouse and we work on clients together or refer clients to each other, and sometimes work with them in tandem or triplicate, the power of 3. We still have to do an episode on that. But one plane, we believe, is not enough to shift the deep wounding and repetitive patterns and behavior. So we'll look at things on like 7 levels, sometimes more, and it really depends on the needs and the ailments of the client or the family. And we're going to look at a lot of these things as a family system. So we'll work or look at the subtle energy field. You've heard us talk about this a lot on the show, but things that aren't obvious, but Kristen especially is so good at going in and seeing what's there. We look at the physical body, the physical form and the physical body as the chakras relate to them. We look at the emotional states. We also look at the physical space, land, and buildings. If someone is chronically ill because of the experience I had with my family of living in different houses that were making us sick, we look at HVAC systems, the physical space, the contracts, so many layers to the land, buildings, and physical space that you are in. Reach out if you want to know more. Number 5, the ancestral, the generational stuff that we've been talking about in those, how to identify. And really, this is about family constellations. It's so important, especially for business families, because you're all connected in this life, in past lives, your energy, what you came here to do. And it's often overlooked at the business level, but it is pivotal. Okay, number 6, the unified field. We work in the field, all 3 of us and some of the other people on our team. We look at, especially Kristen, the soul contracts, perhaps even past lives. We work with mediumship and psychics to really get a layer of information that is not necessarily accessible in the 3D. And then we compare them. This is our belief. A lot of these things are not one or the other. It's the both and. How can we make this all work together? That's why we call it holistic and integrative. We also work in the collective field, and this is the legacy field, right? When we work with the energy of the collective family, and then we take it a step up to the general collective. How is this having impact? And what is in the highest and best good for the individual, the family, and the collective? So we'll do other things, but those are 8 of the highlights of the main things that we will most always look at. So that's a lot, and that's the healing part. I want to take a moment and talk about the expansion, the growth, the exciting part of what we came here to do, because we didn't come here just to suffer, right? Or just to mull around in the healing and be stuck. We want to move beyond it. We want to take action and do the things so that we can build these legacies worth leaving, and lasting legacies that have the impact that so many of us want to make on the future, particularly for our children or our family's children, right? So how do we do this? Let's talk a little bit about it. How do we build from the healing work and determine if you need to go into expansion work? And I really feel like when you've started the process of healing, if you have that intention, you've started the process of expansion already. So it's about recognizing a desire for personal growth, contribution, and leaving that positive impact on future generations. And here are some signs that indicate the need for legacy expansion work beyond the healing, or maybe you just jump in right there and circle back to a healing approach if you find it's warranted or needed. So number 1, the desire. We touched upon that, the desire for purpose and meaning. If you feel a yearning for a deep sense of purpose or meaning in your life, and not everybody does, and that's okay, and a desire to make lasting impact that extends beyond your own existence, it suggests a potential need for legacy expansion work. Number 2, feeling limited or unfulfilled. If you find yourself feeling stuck or unfulfilled in your current circumstances, job, or relationships, and I love this word, right? Have a sense that there is more to explore, more to create, or more to contribute, it might be an indication that you need to expand your legacy. Number 3, there's this wanting to share wisdom skills, right? Both of those, wisdom and skills. If you possess a certain knowledge, a skill, or experiences that you believe, like in here, others could benefit from, and especially future generations, and you feel a strong desire to pass them on, it suggests the need for legacy healing work. Number 4, the long-term impact orientation. If you are interested in creating a positive impact that goes beyond immediate results or personal gain, and you are focused on leaving a legacy that benefits others, it signifies the need for legacy expansion work. Number 5, cultural, societal, or environmental concerns. If you are deeply connected and concerned about the state of your culture, your society, your environment, and you feel the call, that call in your heart, the call in your mind, wherever it is. But if you feel the call to contribute towards positive change, it may indicate a need for legacy expansion work to address these issues and find out where you fit in, because we can't do all things, but we can pick one and focus on it intently, or pick a couple or a few to be part of. Beyond that, you water your energy down. So number 6, you're seeking personal growth. If you have a strong motivation for personal growth and continued self-improvement, and are dedicated to becoming the best version of yourself, expanding your legacy can be an important aspect of this journey. Okay, 7, inspiration from role models. I love inspiration, right? If you've been inspired by the legacies left behind by influential individuals through history, and you have a desire to follow in their footsteps, again, this goes back to desire, knowing yourself, what's going on in here. But if you have that desire to follow them or do something like they did, it suggests your need for legacy expansion work to make a significant impact in your own way. And again, in your own way and in your own time. So if any of these signs resonate with you, it might be an indication that you need to embark on this legacy expansion work. This could involve things like goal setting, align them with your values, pursuing personal development, engaging in acts of service, creating something meaningful to you, or mentoring future generations. We need to be in present time. That's where the magic is, but also be aware of the future. And for so many of us who are parents or have younger loved ones, it is about the future generations and what we leave for them. So remember, the path to expanding your legacy is unique to you, and it can evolve over time, like mine has evolved. I talked about in the beginning, a legacy of violence to a legacy of love. That may not be yours, but allow yourself time and space for it to evolve, and don't pigeonhole yourself. And that's why this show and some of the concepts like unlearning all the programming is so important, so that you know what is calling you. And if you're not sure, you need guidance, consult with experts, right? Who work collectively and on multiple planes like my team does. This can help you shorten the gap. It can help you get clarity on your goals. It can give you insights that one coach, one therapist, one business mentor or specialist cannot do alone. So if you've done that, if you've done the alone path and it hasn't worked, consider working with a collective or a team. It doesn't have to be mine, but see what that feels like in here, right? I hope this information was helpful to you on your pursuit of creating and expanding a legacy worth leaving. Like you mean, not a legacy of violence. I don't want to leave that. I didn't want to continue with that with my children. I want to leave a legacy of love and more. So what legacy? You're going to leave an impact of some sort with your future generations. What do you want to leave? And how do you need to do it? And do you need support? So reach out to me at Kreatrix TV at Gmail, or click on kreatrix.club to be part of our community, get some updates about episodes, information. And go to eternity.eco/partners page and learn more about some of these scientists and systems analysts and people who are here and healers creating huge impact and legacy. And don't forget, join me next week when we talk about the energy of a name change and how that can affect your legacy, because I'll talk about how that is affecting mine. Bye-bye for now, and thank you for being here.